Dragon Age the Veilguard is absolute... give me a moment. No, that's not right. No. Dragon Age the Transguard. No, that's not it either. Oh, hey guys, how's it going? Yeah, so anyways, is there a good way of starting this? Is there a good way of saying whatever it is that Dragon Age is? I don't know. This isn't Dragon Age. Let's just be honest. This is absolute woke gay freaking trans freaking propaganda dog crap, okay? Who the frick is picking this up of their own volition? They're like, I cannot wait to play Dragon Age the Veilguard. I don't freaking know, okay? You have to be smoking some kind of weird crack. I don't know what it is. It's got to be crack with, like, I don't know, something that turns you from a man into a woman. There's got to be something in this trash that makes you keep on coming back, and I guess you're a masochist, right? I don't know what it comes down to. And listen, man, this game sucks. You have people going out of their way being like, oh, wow, this is so good. Oh, wow, you know, it's not that bad. No, you know, and I think it's so funny. You had these freaking raging homosexuals. They were out there. They were sitting there telling everyone, including me, but everybody, they were telling everyone and their freaking dog, and also their unborn fetuses from their butch lesbian girlfriends, even though they're raging homosexuals, right? They have to get with the lesbians. You know, it's complicated. Anyways, you know, their unborn fetus sits there, and not even that wants to pick up the game, okay? Dragon Age the Veilguard is a freaking lobotomy of a game. That is what this is. It is a disillusion of the gaming industry. You know, you have a choice. You can pick up this homosexual dog crap, or you could go out of your way and you could pick up Dragon Age Inquisition, which has crappy companions, okay? Although some of the stories pretty decent, for, you know, kind of, for the most part. It's pretty good. Again, there's certain characters I don't like in Inquisition because they are woke dog crap, but I think the core storyline's pretty good for Dragon Age Inquisition. And then the gameplay is actually fun, and it's an actual RPG. Now, is it a perfect game? I'm not telling you that. I'm just saying it's a game that you can purchase and have fun with. I had tons of fun with it when the game came out, okay? Long time ago now. And that's what this mother effing review is about. Is the fact that I wanted a freaking sequel, and they didn't give us a sequel. They gave us a woke dog trash knockoff that never should have existed. No one wants this. No one cares about this. This destroys Dragon Age. This is not what Dragon Age is. By the way, it's freaking ridiculous that we've got freaking black elves, Asian elves, all these races of elves outside of white people. Let's be very clear about this. Fantasy is a white man's property. Fantasy was written and created, cultivated by white men. Specifically, European fantasy is made by white men. Elves are white. It is a white concept, creation. I mean, same thing with hobbits and dwarves, okay? It's ridiculous that we have anything to do with any other race of people when it comes down to white man fiction, okay? We've got black people fiction, we've got Asian people fiction. Everyone knows. But for some reason, we cannot and we should not respect the culture of the white man, okay? Enough is enough. And by the way, you freaking white freaking cucks out there, I know you, I see you. You are a freaking disgrace upon your people. You are not a token of your people. Man, you're the freaking crap stain. What the frick is wrong with you? You're like, oh yeah, that's fine. That's fine. You know, white people, they make civilizations better. They're the ones that do it best. But, of course, we're going to sit here, and when the minorities come in and they're like, we want to hijack your fiction, we say, go at it. It's morally obligated out of me that I, as a white person, I'm going to give over to you everything, all my ancestry, all my heritage. I'm just going to give it all to you because beautiful multiculturalism, which is really just invasive assimilation. Oh, it's so beautiful. I love it all. It's so beautiful. Meanwhile, Asian people, they get to keep their freaking Bushido crap and all that, you know, the dragons in the sky, all that freaking stuff. Dude, there's so many games coming out right now and into the future. So many games that are pretty cool, that are Chinese and just whatever Asian descent oriented. It's just for Asian people. And we're not sitting there saying, where's the blacks? We need more blacks in this. Now, of course, we have Assassin's Creed Shadows, but there's so many other games. Right now, Asian people are basically going through a freaking renaissance because they're just getting a bunch of crap. And then white people, they're getting pillaged from freaking hell to back. And then you have these white cucks that are like, it is moral and obligated out of you and me that we throw away our culture, our ancestry, and our history. We have to throw it all away. Why? Because it makes you enlightened. Somehow being a retard egalitarian makes you a freaking genius. You're a freaking moron. Let's just be very clear about this. You are a stain upon your people. You should be deported with the people you love so much. Here's something about you freaking libtards that you need to get through your thick freaking skulls. Here it is. Here it is. Are you ready for it? Are you ready for it? You freaking clowns. I'm about to truth bomb your freaking pathetic existence. You love the illegals so much, go live in their countries, okay? If you're in America, okay, apparently you freaking libtards, you love the Hispanics, you love them so much, go live in Mexico, you freaking tards. And then the freaking tards in the UK and all the rest of the EU, you sit there and you're so in love with Muslims, go live in a Muslim country. Why is it that everyone else has to sacrifice their ancestry? Listen, white people are different. White people have a different culture. White people have a different background than these other groups, okay? If you want to be in a white people civilization, you be in white people civilization. If for some reason you want to be in a Muslim civilization, then go ahead. But you never see this out of these libtards. They never want to go to these people's countries. They want to just bring them in. They don't want to live in the communities that they bring in these people to, okay? They want you to live in those communities. These are freaking retards. They are demonic Satanists, and that's all they deserve to be told that they are. You are a Luciferian piece of trash, all right? Freaking Satan. He is jealous because you're doing it better than he is right now, okay? You are, basically, you're a faithful servant of Lucifer. Let's just be clear about that. But outside of being a faithful servant, you're just a gay cuck, and you're probably transitioning as we speak, okay? Pathetic. You're a loser, and I have nothing for you. You want to throw away white people stuff, and that's what this game is. I wanted a part 2 to Inquisition. Inquisition was gearing up for an amazing sequel of a game, an amazing story. I was looking forward to Solus. I was looking forward to this battle of whatever ethereal forces or whatever. I don't know what what's going to be exactly, honestly, but they had an idea in their mind. The original writers, guess what happened to them? They fired the original writers. They got rid of them and they placed in activists. They removed everyone that made Inquisition a great game. Again, not perfect. There's a lot of things I hate about it. I hate the companions, for instance. You have a freaking bald black chick, okay? She's actually the most attractive female in the game, by the way. Wow, coincidence? I think not. A bald black woman is the most attractive character in Inquisition. That game was so proto-woke. I saw it back then, and we have to call it out now. It's like, what the frick, man? What's wrong with you, BioWare? You could have made sexy bombshell white women with long flowing hair, and instead you're like, the most attractive chick is going to be a bald black woman. Get in a freaking medieval fantasy setting that is European-centric. What the frick? Golly, this crap is freaking homosexual, man. I can't believe that these freaking... And anyways, these developers are freaking clowns. Trash can clowns is what they are. From outer space. These people went out of their way to destroy Dragon Age with this game. Now just wait a minute. Have you guys ever questioned yourself as to whether or not you're gay? Because here's the simple question, and really here's the simple problem. You've been supporting companies that hate you for how long? Companies that make dog trash stories for how long? And you've been begging for a solution for how long? Well, here I am, destined unto you by God. Maybe we are exaggerating a little bit, but let's go with it. I went out of my way to provide to you these stories. I went out of my way to take on the burden of storytelling to become a steward of narrative so that you finally get some narratives that are worth your time. Listen, man, just get on over to my freaking Amazon book page, pick up one of my books, or don't if you're gay. It's totally fine, bro. You're into freaking dudes. I get it. Anyway, back into the video. You flaming homosexual. So, what do I have to tell you about Dragon Age? I wrote down some notes. Oh, yes. Oh, I wrote down many, many notes. And we have a lot of thoughts to get to, but I did have to get that rant off my freaking chest because you freaking clowns, you think that it's moral and that everyone's morally obligated to throw away their country, to throw away their people. You are a race traitor. Let's just be very clear about that. And then you want to act like you have a ground to stand upon. Again, you love these other cultures and groups so much, go live with them. I never see them live with these people. You know the number one people I see these freaking libtards hang out around? It's their own freaking people. But for some reason they sit there and they posture upon, oh, you guys spend more time around the blacks. You guys spend more time around all these freaking groups. Just stop it. You're a freaking trash can clown. And you literally don't live in your freaking made up reality. And here's the thing. You wouldn't think your politics if you lived within reality. So anyways, man, screw this trash. We're going through the freaking notes. And, I was thinking about it. We could go about this in many ways. I could just sit here and I could rant off to you for this video. However, I wrote these notes down because I was like, and let's just follow the notes as I speak. I could just flow through it. Yeah, nah, not really interested. We're going to go through this together. I'm going to share with you a lot of my notes. And I think I'm going to be pretty comprehensive when I go into how much I hate Dragon Age the Veilguard, okay? This game sucks. Let's be very clear about that. You have a lot of morons and losers out there who are trying to say that this is a fun game or that maybe has a good story. Absolutely not. They're making it up. So without further ado, let's get into the first point. Again, we have many points within this, and I hope I'm pretty fast throughout this video. I mean, you already know how long the video is. I don't. So, anyways, let's get through it. I'm going to start with this point right here. The game starts off as little trash, okay? Terrible starting to a story, terrible just setting up of a premise. It starts in a freaking bar fight that in the gayest way possible. You have a muscle woman sitting there on a freaking table. What the F? Again, the women look like freaking men. The women are basically men. By the way, you mother effing cucks, women are not men. Women are not built like men. Women don't get buff like men. And women cannot win fights against men, okay? You, though, you are a transitioning, whatever else. You sit there, and of course you think that a woman and a man are interchangeable, and that a man can lose a fight to a woman, because you have done everything in your power to not be a man in your existence. Or you didn't start as a man and you want to be a man, but you can't be a man because you're not a man. Whatever it is, you live in a fantasy land up in your freaking head. The reality is, you're not a man. And this stupid idea that we have that women can fight men is stupid, and it's gay. And by the way, this is why so many games, yes, it's gay and retarded that you sit there and you make a game where you have a male and an interchangeable male or female protagonist. Okay, male shepherd, female shepherd, I forget the name, for Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Valhalla, all these newer Assassin's Creed games. It's not we're following a man on a man's journey. Now it's the man's journey can be a woman's journey too. It's completely interchangeable. You freaking cuck-servatives. I have to call you out first and foremost because you're just like the freaking Democrats. You're just like the liberals. You literally sit there and you think that men and women are interchangeable to the point that you're like, I think it's beautiful and brave that we have all these options. Right now, I'm twirling my nipples because I love this. I love this storyline where a woman, it's such brave and beautiful diversity of choice. Player choice. I can be a man or a woman in this game's story. You freaking conservatives, you are a stain upon your freaking group, whatever it is, upon your freaking affiliation. You are an absolute stain upon humanity. You are a cuck. You are a neoliberal. Again, a story is either written to follow a man or a woman. Men and women are not the same. They don't communicate the same way. When you make a female character communicate like a man, have scenes like a man, like we see in Assassin's Creed Odyssey and go down the list, and also, of course, male shepherd, female shepherd, you're having a scene that's written equally for a man and a woman. That only harms the story. It only harms the character. It only harms the reality, the immersion of these characters. And you think it's legitimate. You think that a man and a woman are going to respond the same way, depending on the scene, right? Conflictive or just diplomatic or whatever. You think they're going to behave the same way. You think that they're going to have the same result in a conversation. You think that they're the same character. No, they're not. It's very simple. If you have sisters and if you have brothers, you know that there's a difference. If you have a son and you have a daughter, you know the difference. Somehow these freaking retards, they don't know anyone but their own gender androgynous self. Both the conservatives and the freaking libtards. You're both in the same camp. You're a freaking uniparty. Get it through your freaking head, man. It's freaking pathetic seeing this trash. Again, this hurts stories. This is why it's always been a bad thing. It's always been gay. Either you're making a story with a woman as the character, or you're making a story with a man as a character. Lara Croft is different from Nathan Drake. Eve is different from, I don't know, somebody. Just to think of somebody. I'm trying to think on the top of my head right now. What's a good analogous character to Eve? I mean, there's a couple of like dude characters. I don't know. Anyways, if I wasn't recording right now, I could probably think of it. Doesn't matter. You can think of it. Okay. The point is though, men are different than women. And when you make a female character, they have to be written differently than a male character, or else, again, women are not men. Women are not, even Lara Croft is not a man. Even though, by the way, she's a feminist character that is made to fit into the shoes of a man, okay? So yes, she is phase one of all this stupid wokeness, Lara Croft. But even then, she is still a woman. You're not going to write her like Nathan Drake. And yes, they try to write her like that, but the closer you get, the more of a parody it becomes. So they have to tiptoe. Whenever someone's actually legitimately writing Lara Croft, you have to tiptoe on it, or else it's going to look like a parody because you're having a woman behave like a man. No, the only way that she gets away with being the character that she is, Lara Croft, is because she is hot. It's the only way, because we have freaking boners looking at her playing these games. We don't care that she's low-key trying to be a man, okay? But not, you know, depending on the game that we're looking at, because at the reboot series, Lara Croft is largely confidently written as actually a woman, so I don't have a problem with that. Obviously, the feminists, they did not like the reboot Lara Croft. Both the left and the right, they don't like her because she's too effeminate. She's too anxious. She's not confident enough, but she's behaving like a woman. Okay, anyways, I don't have to get into that conversation, and I'm not even saying that's the perfect Lara Croft. Doesn't matter. We don't need to get into that conversation. It's gay and retarded. I don't care. Anyway, men and women are different. Nathan Drake, when you write his character, he's going to be different than Lara Croft, than Samus. Samus doesn't really have a story game, but you know, you get the point. We all know that a busty, hot, blonde chick, Samus Aran, whatever the frick, we all know she's going to speak differently. We all know than Nathan Drake. We all know that male characters speak differently. And of course, female characters in their prime, they don't speak at all, like Quiet from Metal Gear Solid 5. By the way, Snake, really cool character. You know, I miss cool characters in gaming, I'm gonna be honest. But anyways, we know that they're different. We know that these characters have to be written differently. This is why it is such dog trash when you believe that you can have gender androgynous or interchangeable, which is the same thing, but you know, people, you know, they want to act like it's not the same thing. They want to act like it's separate. No, gender androgynous, interchangeable characters suck, and they tear down the fabric of a good story. Every great Here's the thing. Great example right here. Near Automata. 2B and 9s. Male and female character. They're both fitting into their male and female roles throughout the story and throughout the game. They're both written differently from each other. I'm not saying it's perfect, by the way. I could criticize some things, but overall, it's well done, it's competent, and I like the story, okay? And a lot of people do, you know, the ones who aren't complete gay cocks. Okay? They did a good job with it. But 2B and 9s, they're both different characters. They're both, one more time, they're both different characters, and they're written as a man and a woman. 9s enters male archetypal roles throughout the dialogue and the story, big or small, does not matter. He behaves more like a man because he's written as a man. If we make him an interchangeable character, it's ridiculous. Same thing with 2B. 2B is written, you know, again, there's things I can criticize because she's kind of written as a girl boss, but you know, the acceptable girl boss, right? But you know, a woman that has like this nonchalance of basically an alpha man. Okay, let's just be honest about it. Every time we make these female characters like Lara Croft, the original Lara Croft, the most feminist version of her, every time we make female characters like these, they always have to possess a form of male stoicism, which is typically some kind of alpha trait, a man that's mastered over his own mind, his own thoughts, these sorts of things. We always place this onto these female characters because we want to treat them as if they are men. And that's what's so ridiculous, is that you always, if you're going to make a woman some kind of like boss, you know, a bad biatch type of chick, she's always going to be entering a more masculine frame of personality, which is of course ridiculous. But when they're hot and we're staring at their enormous breasts and their sexy figure, the whole thing, we just always want to override it and act like, okay, the sexiness factor makes me overlook the feminist dog trash. Alright, so now that that's out of the way, we can actually now address my entire notes here, because that was not the notes. I just had to continue part of that rant, okay? You just have so many people that want to act like men and women are interchangeable, and either they're the leftards, or they are the people who act like they're normal. You know, the people who are like, oh, I'm traditional, or I'm a conservative, or I'm in the middle, I'm a centrist, the made-up middle. Whatever it is, these people, everyone plays it off like men and women are not different, and we all want to behave like they are the same. No, it's as simple as this. If there were no male millionaires, there would be no female millionaires. It's that freaking simple. There's an entire fabric of society that is created so that women can believe that they're competent enough to be millionaires. This is a reality that was made for them. They never made it themselves. Anyways, let's get into the notes here, okay? So here's my first point that I have to make to you about this game. Harding, the female dwarf, and Varric. These are characters that I believe were from the previous game. Harding was a character in Inquisition. I was like, oh, frick, this freaking unattractive chick that I don't give a crap about. She's not an interesting character. Who cares about her? Seriously, Harding was a throwaway character. I barely cared about. Every time she showed up on screen, I was like, okay, I don't completely hate her, but I do know that she's a feminist character a little bit. That's just the fact that she's a female scout. Like, no, men throughout history were scouts in war zones. Women did not do this, but of course there's going to be a retard out there that says, no, actually, in this one year, 500 years ago, there was a female scout, and she was super famous and popular, so much that nobody talks about her. I don't care. I don't care about your nitpicky freaking historical facts, okay? Because again, men are Vikings, men are pirates, men fulfill all of these roles. Men are samurai, men are everything that's happened throughout freaking civilization. Enough with this idea that, oh, women were pirates too. You're a freaking clown retard. Get the F out of here. So, anyway, I never liked Harding's character because it should have been a man. That's just the ultimate reality. She's not that attractive. funnily enough, in this game, I guess she is one of the most attractive characters in Veilguard because none of the women are attractive, and she's a character from 2013 or whatever, okay? Literally a character from like 10 to 15 years ago now. So of course she's going to be more attractive than the modern characters, even though she's not even attractive. It's ridiculous, but anyways, Harding and Varric. By the way, Varric, I'm going to just make this point. I could make it later. I'm going to make it now. Varric, he's basically dead all throughout the story. Apparently, there's a plot twist that he actually died, and that all of the scenes that you see him in, past you interacting with Soulless, you know, at the beginning of the game, apparently Varric dies, so he's only in your head. Now, that totally makes no sense for a lot of the scenes because I mean, and I guess everyone was playing along that you thought that Varric was alive. Terrible writing, terrible delivery on it, terrible execution. It's so retarded. Honestly, I think this is what happened. They wanted a feminist game because all the main characters in this game are overwhelmingly female. Most of the characters that you spend a lot of your time with are female, including Tosh. You know, Tosh, who can't figure out if she's man or woman, but it's a female who's on steroids. That's all it is. Okay? All the characters are basically female, and they curbed freaking Varric. Varric is he's only a character at the beginning of the game, and then they do away with him. And I think what it is, I don't think that there's any other reason that they did this plot twist other than the fact that they completely, they're basically bailing themselves out. They threw Varric out of the story, and they had to come up with a freaking excuse. It's freaking horrible, man, because what the frick are you doing? Varric is one of the better characters. I'm not even that crazy about him. I wasn't that crazy about him in Inquisition, but he's better than the characters. Well, okay, I mean, the writer's bad, but, you know, anyways, it's just, but, so Varric's not in this game. Let's just put it like that, which, I mean, I guess he's the most redeeming character just based on previous games. He's the most redeeming character, and they completely did away with the guy. He doesn't exist because they intentionally did not want him to be a character. Specifically, they didn't want a man to be a character in this game, except for very few, and the men that are characters in this game, they're either cucks, they're either going to die very soon, or they're basically gay, or they're supposed to be gay if they're not gay, okay? Basically, they have to be as close to feminine or subservient to women and females I mean, you know, that's the same thing. Anyway, as possible. They have to in some way, they cannot be masculine. Varric has always been kind of a roguish, more masculine character, dwarf, right? We all know that. And I'm not, it's not like he's a perfect character, because I don't know if he's perfect, but that was his kind of baseline as a character for the longest time. Why do you think they threw him out of this game's story? Yes, you already know why. It doesn't take a lot to guess. So guys, it appears my PR agent just called, and they're demanding out of me that they're going to fire me if I don't inform you that I've written some books. So head on into the video description, do not forget, and check out Charles Arlington on Amazon. It will literally save my life if you just pick up my books and leave a review. And please, for the love of God, save me from my PR agent. They're going to fire me. So again, they came up with some kind of excuse, which is just the fact that, oh, Varric died at the beginning of the game, even though there was no evidence that he died. Well, okay, he did get stabbed and he was supposed to be dead, and then apparently he was completely patched up and okay. I don't know. Retarded. What they did with Varric is retarded because they planned, one of the previous directors or writers before they kept on throwing people out because this game was going through development hell, someone planned on Varric being a character. Then one of the activist writers, they stepped in and they were like, we don't want this guy to be a character. We want women to be the character because this is feminist Veilguard. We don't want any male character. I mean, Soulless, by the way, he's the big, supposed to be some kind of villain in this story. Guess what? He's barely in the game. He's barely in the story. literally barely in it. You know who's in this story more? A bunch of girl bosses. There's a bunch of random women. Okay, this is a later point I was going to be making, so I guess I'm just going with my train of thought here before I actually go down the notes here. But you have so many girl bosses randomly thrown into the story, randomly thrown into the game, and it's like, what are we doing here? There's all these women, female necromancer, female patriarch. It's all these women in authority roles, authority positions, women in male roles, historically male conventional roles. We're placing women into the roles of men, basically the bodies of men. Let's just be freaking frank about this. Let's be absolutely brutally honest, because that's what it is. It's not even the role of men. If you're gonna place women into the role of men, they're basically in the bodies of men. They freaking transguarded all these freaking women into male roles. And again, the cucks, the cuckservatives, and everyone else, no one wants to call it out. It's ridiculous. So again, the main female villain of the game is a freaking female. There's two elven gods who are basically eldritch gods. They're supposed to be elven, but elven's not eldritch. So they linked them together for some reason, okay? But both of them should naturally just be male and male, okay? They just make sense. They, for some reason, made one of the eldritch gods a female. She's the main villain of the game, okay? Main female villain. Because that's all they wanted. I guess she has a brother, and he shows up just to bail her out so that she stays alive in the story. He is the writers coping every time they put the female villain into a position to die or nearly die and be defeated by our brave and beautiful feminist legion. They find this freaking brother eldritch dude who doesn't look like an eldritch. He looks like an elf. So I just, because the female, she doesn't look like an elf. She looks like an eldritch being, okay? They go out of their way. And by the way, the writing for them is terrible. The writing for the villains is absolutely awful. It's written by adult children who think that they're intellectual, who think that they're smart, who think that their words and their thoughts and their ideas and the way that they can weave together words, they think that they sound enlightened or that they sound very intelligent. They don't. You sound like a freaking adult child. You sound like some fan fiction high schooler writing down about freaking Kylo Ren and Rey Skywalker. You sound terrible writing these characters. The characters sound terrible. Again, the brother eldritch dude, elf, he shows up just randomly so that he can bail out the main female villain, who is just the main villain of the game, okay? He's basically the medic in her party, and he just shows up whenever she's about to die. It's all it is. It's pathetic. Yeah, when he shows up, he tries to speak like he's super intelligent or intellectual, and he's like, you people like you. And he's written in a way, by the way, that a lot of liberals like to make specifically male villains. A certain type of male villain, which is this guy that's super pompous, and he acts like no one understands what he's saying, that they always like to write them like they have a master plan, and that they're not going to exactly tell you the master plan at times. Then randomly they'll just divulge the entire master plan at a random beck and call, usually within the narrative, whenever you just show up. And the freaking brother character, he's just sitting there, the brother eldritch guy who's an elf, he sits there, and you'll walk into like a throne room, I think somewhere within the game, I think it's near the end, and he literally just starts divulging, as he's done previous times in the story, he just starts divulging his entire plan. He's like, this is the reason why we do this, and blah blah blah, and he says it right in this way that's supposed to be like, I don't need to share this with you, but because you're so beneath me, I suppose I have to share with them, the peons, those lesser than me, my strategy, my plans. This is the way that he communicates every time that you show up and get talking to the freaking guy. He always talks in this manner that it's this pompous, fake intellectualism that a lot of liberals seem to be very addicted to this type of character. I don't know what it is. They love this character though. And it's this trope. It's an absolute trope for woke writers or just liberals in general. And it's always poorly written. It's always a character. It seems like to me, it's always a self-insert. It's a side of a liberal's personality where they want to sit there and just be pompous and express to other people how they're better than you. But they know, and a part of their ethics and their beliefs is that everyone's equal, right? Equalitarian. Ethics is basically egalitarian ethics. I mean, yeah, it's basically the same thing, but you know, they have this equalist mindset, but yet they so desperately, a villain character is always the hidden persona of basically a liberal every single time. It's what they want to be. They wish that they could just sit there and say that I'm different than you, I'm better than you, even though I'm not actually smarter than you. I'm gonna sit here and just by me speaking, I'm somehow smarter, because that's how these freaking villain characters are always written. They just speak. And because they're speaking, they're supposed to be regarded as intelligent, as intellectual, as having a master strategy, as being a genius. It's every freaking time. This is a character, Brainiac in Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, he kind of spoke this way. Again, it's always this posh, kind of pompous, I'm above you, I'm beyond you, I'm more powerful than you. But again, it's like, it's such a frail image that these villains have because they're defeated within seconds. But again, the writers, they want to live through the villain, the idea of the villain, not the reality that they write them to be. They want to live in this idea that they're so powerful and that they're so intelligent as an individual that they can just sit there and divulge their entire plan and that you can't beat them or whatever else. It's like, it's this indefatigable, it's not arrogant. I mean, you could say it's arrogant, but it's this indefatigable sort of character that is incredibly, I guess in some part you could say, overzealous about their own abilities, their own potential, whatever it is. Okay, there's so many layers to all of this, but basically it's someone that thinks that they possess, and they're supposed to possess, far more competence than they actually do. And that's always these characters. Again, it's a weird mixture of what these leftist writers, what they want to be, but then they always go out of their way to hijack these characters. So I guess it's a weird manifestation for themselves of not only what they want to be, but what they realize that either they're not allowed to be or they cannot prove. And that's really the reality, but I don't think they look at it that way. But they cannot prove to be this exact level of competence or intelligence, whatever it is. And so they end up compensating for that kind of basically self-image of themselves in their villains. Okay, so with all that being spoken, with all that rant being made, okay, because I guess I could say a little bit more, but you know, these freaking, I mean, this is going to be in my later notes here that we're going to go through. I mean, we've already pretty much covered all the bases, so there might be like one angle that I've missed. The villains, though, they're just absolutely awful, and it's just written as basically a self-insert of what the writers want to be, but by their ethics, they're not allowed to be. That's really all it comes down to. Again, there's other ways that you can put it. There's so many layers to this with the villains. They're so terrible, but again, it is on multiple psychological layers. It is an expression of these writers, absolutely. And the rest of the retard characters are just self-inserts to begin with. But anyway, okay. So anyways, the first point that I kind of bunny trailed off of, I didn't even finish it. I only spoke halfway through. Okay. Harding and Varric have needless, raspy voices. I don't know what it is, but for some reason, both Harding and Varric, the two dwarves, companions of this game, for some reason, and I don't remember their voices both being as raspy as this, but they speak with a weird rasp, both of them. So it's this weird, like, whoever the director is or whatever, they want you to think that for one, that the female and the male dwarves are basically the same, interchangeable, that they both speak in the same manner. It's just one is, happens to be female and the other happens to be male. There's definitely a weird androgynism that they were going for with Harding and Varric, and I can tell that Varric, he's more naturally raspy, the voice actor, and then the female, all throughout the game, she was forcing herself to be raspy. So they wanted her, for whatever reason, to be raspy. I don't know what it is, but it's just this like, hey Rook, how's it going? The Eldritch gods, they're showing up and they're gonna kick our butts or something. It's always that weird raspiness that they always speak through, and of course you're speaking to Harding most of the game because of course they threw away Varric as a character. So you're hearing Harding trying to be raspy all throughout the game. It's weird, and honestly no one's really called it out, but I kept on noticing that and I'm like, what the frick is this trash? Anyways, Varric never shows up except early game, apparently dead, what the F. So I wrote that down too. We already addressed this, but seriously, they literally killed him off early in the game, and then they came up with this weird excuse to just keep him around in like very select scenes. What the frick are you doing? Like, again, leftist writers, they're so afraid they just kill off a character, but when they kill off a character, it's so offensive how terribly it's done. It's at the wrong time, right? They killed Joel in Last of Us 2. He did not have to die that way. He died too early in the story. We all knew it. He didn't even have to die, but he could have died, very well likely, in Last of Us 2. For some reason, leftist writers, though, they love to do this, but they don't like a character truly being dead. That's why we get flashbacks of Joel in Last of Us 2, despite the fact that they killed him. So it's like, why didn't you just make an entire game following the character instead of killing him, and then we have to go back to the freaking past, or we have to make it up in our heads that they're alive? And this happens with everything. Okay, this happens in Disney Star Wars with Darth Sidious. Oh, he's not actually dead. He came back. Who was the other character? There was another character that died and then they come back in Disney Star Wars. I mean, then all the television shows, everyone dies and they all come back. Even that freaking Asian bounty hunter chick, which is such a feminist piece of trash character, but whatever, right? The chick that hangs out with Boba Fett in the television show, she's supposed to be dead and then she just comes back, through retarded surgery, whatever. I mean, it's just, this is something about freaking woke writers. They always come up with an excuse to bring back characters or make it so that they're not truly dead. You again, either make your freaking story, make your freaking characters, live by the consequences of the story and the characters, or don't at all. But they never do any of this competently. They killed off Varric in the dumbest way possible. So then they'd come up with an excuse and they're like, okay, well, him being dead and him being dead this early on is kind of stupid. And we personally, we don't actually like that we did that. So we're actually just going to bring him back. Why is he dead then? Why wasn't he just a character all throughout the game, and either he doesn't die, or he dies at the end, or near the end? What the freak are you doing? Golly, man. The high level of incompetence amazes me with these people, because they can't make proper characters, number one, and then the only way that they can get any emotional impact in a story is by killing characters that other people wrote well, and then they kill the character off in the worst way possible. I could keep on going with this, man. Anyways, we've already addressed it. It's so disgusting how and basically Solus is dead. He's also dead. He dies at the beginning of the game with Varric because he gets thrown into the freaking veil. And he's not a character pretty much all throughout the game. Literally, and he's so lame every time he does show up. The Eldritch female villain is the main villain of the game. It's not Solus. Again, they basically killed off two decent characters from Inquisition and some of the previous games, Solus and Varric. See, I wonder why they did it to two leading male characters, and they replaced all the leading male characters with women. Even the freaking necromancer guy who's one of your companions, he becomes a lich later on in the story. He's not even himself anymore. He becomes something, well, it's not a man or a woman. It's a freaking technically it used to be a man, but it's an undead, powerful being. That's all it is. I mean, they do everything in their power to remove the men. Again, so many of the female characters. One chick, she has I think the Asian chick, I think, has a black elf brother. What the frick? That just makes no sense in the family line tree. That's just retarded, but okay. But he dies. He dies. It's only the women that live. And again, the men only live, like the brother Eldritch, to make sure that the female characters live. All of them. Oh my god. Even the dragons that you fight, that are being commanded by the female Eldritch in I think the mid-game giant battle in the story, even the dragons are female. One more time. I think both of them are female. Or it's only one. I'm pretty sure it's both. I don't give a crap. Even the dragons are female, though. Even the dragons are female. Everything is a female in this game. What the frick? Everything that is historically male is female in this game. And all the men that are left are all killed or sidelined as if they're being killed, like Solus. Or even the brother Eldritch. He never shows up until female Eldritch is in trouble. For some reason in trouble. I don't know why. But basically, once the main character, female main character, is, in some way compromised, male character comes in to bail him out every time. Or in whatever, other variations. What the frick were they thinking when they were making this game and its story? Alright, you trash can clowns, I had to put this video on frickin' halt for this. Listen, as you all know, everybody knows, I am a freaking author. Go ahead into the video description. If it's not there, there's a link. Should be a link. Anyway, if it's not there, just again, reminder, Charles R. LinkedIn, search it up on Amazon, and just pick up one of my books, leave a rating, a review, would mean a whole lot. And thank you, you trash can clown queers. So anyways, alright, so here's the next thing here. Dialogue is both juvenile and meaninglessly millennial. Yes, these are millennial writers. Millennials do fantasy, they do fiction worse than the freaking boomers and whoever else came before. Maybe the silent generation, whatever. Listen, a lot of previous generations, they just did it better. Especially the boomers. And whoever it comes down to, they just do fiction better. Whoever it is that we've got now, which are the millennials, but I don't know how many Zoomer writers that we have. I really don't know. Okay? They suck at writing. They suck at creating characters. They don't know what the frick they're doing. And they're just destroying these franchises. Or maybe it's just woke millennials. Maybe they're just freaking retards because, woke boomers like George R. Martin, even though they're retards and they're woke and they're liberals, at least they could make a decent story in the end, or at least they could somewhat competently write, like J.K. Rowling, right? I don't have much good to say about them. I don't like their stories. I hate Game of Thrones and I hate Harry Potter. However, at least they're actually competent, right? At something. When they make their crap, at least they can make it serviceable. These people, oh my gosh, man, the freaking modern day wokies, my god, they can't even, they can't help themselves. They ruin absolutely everything. All right, let's look at, oh yeah, and it's juvenile. Man, the dialogue the whole way throughout the game, it's adult children, the dialogue, that's what it is. It's adult children. Everyone's talking about their trauma, their childhood baggage, their family drama. These are people who never grew up. These are people who cannot get past petty conflicts with people in their life. These are freaking losers and they can't move on from their own loserdom, their own patheticism. They can't move on from it, so they just talk in circles. Oh, you know, my mom this, my brother that. All of these characters, specifically the female characters, are the most adult children of the characters. But even the villains are juvenile. Again, the brother Eldritch, he speaks like how a child thinks a villain speaks. You know, over-explaining yourself, just laying out your plan, being pompous and arrogant, and acting like you're better than the heroes, but ultimately you're always going to be defeated no matter what, because the heroes have to win. That's just how morality works. The good guys always win, right? And that's how they wrote the freaking villains. The female Eldritch is just, again, dude, there's so much laughable dialogue. What the frick? All right, next point here. Everybody is downright ugly. Everyone's ugly. Nev, or whatever the frick her name is, she has cleavage at certain parts of the game. She has no breasts. She basically has pectorals, and they're acting... It's a dude. It's basically a dude with freaking cleavage. It's disgusting. None of the women have boobs, and none of the women are attractive. A lot of the women are very masculine and manly looking, and they all behave like men and live as men. This is not Miranda Lawson. This is not Ashley Williams from Mass Effect. This is not a bunch of the hot freaking babes from a lot of BioWare games that we know. And Morgan, right? Didn't she? She used to have double D breasts. Now she's completely flat-chested. And they did that to her in the previous game. The previous game had ugly women, Inquisition. Again, I hated the companions. And the women were so ugly, but this game, it's just the women are completely ugly. The freaking Asian elf chick, she has these like small, weirdly shaped, saggy breasts. They look awful. Again, they did everything in their power to make everyone disgusting. The most attractive characters are just, quite frankly, the men. And same thing with you have so many shills out there from Baldur's Gate 3 to this day. Not that good of a game. It's just that the gaming industry sucks now. That's why you sit there and you freaking jerk off in Baldur's Gate 3. It is one of the greatest psyops that has existed within the last couple of years. It's not a good game. But here we are, everyone wants to act like it's super good because the activists and the insane asylum, which are the same thing, but sometimes they're separate, they have taken over the industry. They took out everyone that earned it, and now we have only people who didn't earn it. So now we have to deal with a lot of bad fiction, a lot of bad fantasy, a lot of hijacked fantasy, because again, fantasy is white people stuff, but now we have to make it diverse people stuff. And it's not even diverse people stuff too. It's now just diverse. It has been completely hijacked. This freaking dog trash. Again, it's ridiculous. Dwarves are not black. Elves are not black. Go down the list. These are white people creations. Anyways. Everyone is ugly in this game. The women look terrible. The men are basically the most attractive characters, just like in Baldur's Gate 3, where the women are not attractive. There's this one white chick that every dude and his dog wants to horn out for. The chick's not attractive. She's completely mean to you, like a feminist. She gives you cold shoulders. She speaks disrespectfully. She's a complete feminist hoe bag. She has no breast size in Baldur's Gate 3. She is not that effing attractive. But again, you have these freaking losers that are simping out because they're such freaking cucks. We have a hijacked industry where beautiful women are no longer common. They used to be in every game. Now they're not. And now you have these freaking losers who are horning out for liberal feminist women who look disgusting. Okay? It's not hard to make beautiful women with huge breasts, beautiful waistlines, amazing rear ends, beautiful hair, beautiful faces, the whole freaking thing. It's not hard to do. They go out of their way to make the women unappealing, unattractive. That's what they do every time. And we live in a world of magic, and it's like, honestly, why are the women not trying to make themselves as hot as possible with magic? If we're just going to get really retarded with this, I mean, you don't have to come up with excuses for beautiful women, but it's like, if we want to have excuses for how people look, then it should just be beauty. Everyone should be beautiful. Oh my God. The men, why are they not using magic to bolster their athletic performance, their musculature, right? Which is a part, of their brawn, their strength. And of course, through magic, you might want to be a little bit stockier. You might want to be a little bit leaner. They can decide. But what are we doing? And again, even outside of magic, we don't have to have ugly characters. I'm just saying that if we want to get retarded with this, even if we're going to think about, okay, we're in a world of magic, why are the women not beautiful and why are the men not at the absolute peak of their ability, right? Why not? Whatever, man. It just, no, makes no sense. But anyways, everyone's downright ugly. And just looking at the characters, just like in Baldur's Gate 3, because Baldur's Gate 3, everyone was ugly in that game. And there was basically a character that was just like Tosh, by the way, in that game. The she-devil or whatever. It's basically a woman on steroids. I don't know what it is, but muscle women is this big thing that leftists want to push and that they're obsessed with. And it's always disgusting. It's always these women who are basically a man, like literally a man. No, I'm not talking about it any further than this. You can already think for the rest of that. That is disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. Anyways. The next point here is that Tosh is a key insert for every scene. They make Tosh a big deal for so many of the scenes in the game. And of course, you can choose to have her in the game less or a little bit more if she's in your party or not. But regardless, they really try to drive home on Tosh. Tosh is basically the main character for this story as well, because this is a self-insert for the writers. What else did I write down? Yep, she's always important. Everyone has to pause the world, absolutely, to see how she processes. She is annoying and meaningless, and who the frick cares about her? Exactly. This is such a meaningless person, meaningless character, meaningless archetype of individual. But literally she is treated like she is basically one of the titular characters that, everyone paused the world. Tosh and her freaking pronoun identity has been offended. So now we have to, we have to do a bev or whatever the frick they call it, do push-ups if you misgender her. We have to do all this. And she talks all the time about her gender identity in the game. It is retarded and annoying. Who the frick wants this in a game? Take this out of gaming completely. No one wants this. No one wants to pay money for this. Oh, it's player choice. No, this is retard choice. Every single thing that you do in your product matters. Every single thing you do affects the quality. If you're not going to make sure that every character is compelling and every storyline and every dialogue option is compelling and it's not annoying, ideological, woke dog crap, then you have a problem with your story, with your game, with your characters. Everything matters. Bad characters hurt a story. We've known this for years. Nowadays we act like, nope. Oh, it's just player choice. It's just representing a certain group of people. No. Bad characters, bad dialogue ruins great stories. We've always spoken about this and we've always known about it. Do not make it up. Tosh is a crappy character that no one cares about and she should not be in the game. And none of her dialogue should be in the game either. Anyways, next point here, dialogue is stupid, unnecessary, and expands no lore. This is something that's a huge issue with leftist writers. They never actually expand a lore for the stories, for the world, for the characters of the games or whatever products they're making. They never know how to expand, like Star Wars. Star Wars has gone nowhere since George Lucas. Why do you think that is? Because these freaking activists, they can't actually make anything. Force Awakens was dog trash. I don't have to get into that. That's a whole other conversation. Anyways, the dialogue is absolutely stupid. It's adult children, number one, but it's like social hour at freaking Starbucks. And everyone's talking through their needless, their vapid feelings and emotions about everything and their petty drama with themselves, with other people, with their family, whoever it is. They're always talking about adult-child problems. These are Starbucks freaking social hour self-insert characters. These are university students who couldn't grow up past university. So now they're making their characters university student characters, archetypes, whatever. Okay? It's not freaking rocket science. These people, they don't have imagination. They have their own lousy existence, and they want it to be seen as heroism. Anyway, these characters are simply rambling all game. They are simply rambling all game. They have nothing of worth to say. There's nothing to listen to them for. They just ramble. There's no point to their thoughts. The story does not actually progress through their thoughts. Again, this is so vapid. You have no premise for what it is that you're speaking upon. You have no objective through your speech. And you're just speaking. And it's all game. That it's these loser leftist characters who are just talking in these meaningless circles. And of course I say right here, with no substance as they speak. That's exactly the issue, as I said already. No substance typically is associated with having no premise, no goal, no objective through your speech. That's typically how women speak. They don't have an objective. They don't have a goal. They just talk the talk. Men, they typically only speak for an objective, for a goal, right? For some kind of... Men are objective oriented, right? Men and women are different. When you make a female character, they're going to speak differently than a male character. This is why androgynous characters are retarded. Men and women, they think and they speak differently. Anyways, next point here. Gameplay and world is boring in this game. The gameplay, not that interesting. Some of the abilities seem kind of okay, but the gameplay is redundant. It's repetitive. It's grindy. You're basically fighting a lot of bullet sponges. You're fighting a lot of the same enemies. The game drags on and it drags out. I enjoyed, again, Dragon Age Inquisition. That game felt, it does drag at a certain point, but there's so much content for the most part. Some of it's redundant content, like you are starting to fight too many dragons. You are doing the same activities too often, but for the most part, the game keeps its luster for a long time. This game does not. Is lackluster. The skill tree sucks. Anyways, the world, and many people have spoken about this. Many people have criticized how it's like, okay, the gameplay, it really feels like we're getting nowhere with this. The skill tree's not that good. Building out my character doesn't feel that good. It feels like a lazily made progression system, loot system, and combat system. That's what a lot of people have spoken about, and that's what I have seen as well, myself. So anyways, world is boring. The world is absolutely boring. This is terrible. Inquisition felt immersive. I was interested in the world. I was immersed. By the way, the only way that you can have immersion is by implementing reality into your characters and into your story. Once you sacrifice the reality of your story and your characters, you sacrifice the immersion. This is why bad characters, bad dialogue, like this game, this is why, and Suicide Kill the Justice League, so many other, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. This is why so many of these woke titles have been coming out, because there's a bunch that came out this year. A bunch of people have forgotten about them, like Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn. You can go down the list. There's a bunch of games. But the world is boring. I don't want to get immersed into this world. I don't care about the characters. I don't care about the events. None of it is compelling. So as I say here, it is not immersive. In Inquisition, you felt like you were lost in an explorative world. I felt like I was actually exploring. I felt like I was lost in the world of Thedas, right? And every environment was compelling. It was interesting. It was captivating. In this game, everything looks like Unreal Engine crap. Honestly, it just looks so generic. It's painful. And I could not stand it. The game just feels soulless. The characters, the worlds, even the combat. Dude, and okay, this is the next point actually that we're going to make here. But let me finish this point here. Yeah, so it's captured you with awe and wonder as you traveled from area to area. In Inquisition, just, it captures you. It's really well made as a game, Companions suck, but okay, separate conversation. Anyways, here's the next point. Tying into this, the enemies look terrible. In Inquisition, the elves, the Kunari, the dwarves, and the demons that you fight, they all look good. Everyone largely, okay, I mean, a lot of ugly characters, but like the elves look like elves, the dwarves look like dwarves, the Kunari look like Kunari, and specifically the demons, they look good in Dragon Age Inquisition. But when we look at this game, specifically the demons, they look like dog trash, cartoony, villain kind of throwaway characters. I mean, seriously, I feel like I've seen this same kind of cartoony design of demonic enemies in a lot of woke dog trash pig trough games. I mean, they're just coming out with this stuff. It's so mediocre, but it's dime a dozen. It's like they have the same stock design for demons or monsters and beasts in these games. Because look at a game like Redfall, look at Flintlock, Siege of Dawn, look at a game like Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. A lot of the zombies or demonic creatures, whatever, they look a lot like the freaking demonic creatures or whatever in this game. It's all the same design. It's like it's a parody of what we actually want these demons to look like and what they used to look like in games like Inquisition. In a lot of other games, a lot of fantasy games, how these characters and how these demons or villains, whatever enemy types, how they look authentic and genuine and unique. It's like this is made to be a parody because that's what it looks like. It looks like a parody on what actually was and what actually is. Ultimately captivating. Anyways, next point here. Everyone is a woman. Specifically, all the villains are women. I don't know really how many male villains are in this game. I have no idea. And honestly, I don't know if there are male villains outside of the brother Eldritch. There were so many female bosses, girl bosses, left, right, and center. And by the way, with one of the villains, they try to do this trope that a lot of leftists do, where you try to make the villain, you try to make him understandable, or you try to make everyone feel sorry for him. Oh, that's why he's bad, right? We have to feel sorry for and understand the villain. It's always this cop-out where it's like, oh, they were made this way by some evil meanie pants or whatever, or the world, I don't know. They can't just be evil to be evil. Anyway. What's the next point here? I lost my place. What the mother F? Alright. Okay, so I was saying that. Oh, okay. So that was the previous point. I'm reading the next point right here. Man, this game, bro, my gosh, it's so freaking disappointing. My gosh. There's just so much that's wrong with this. It's like, how was this made? How was this made? And how is anyone working on this? How are they happy with what they made? Genuine question. Anyways, so villains, all of the villains are women. They're all girl bosses. Yeah, girl boss Haven. Men are basically dead or removed everywhere you go in the game, just like Varric. Yep, I made that point earlier. Masculinity does not exist in this game. That is true. There is no masculinity in this game. None. And I already made this point, but it's like, it's everything that's either closest to feminine or it is subservient to the feminine. That is the only thing that's allowed in this game. And all that exists are these girl bosses. Yep. Girl boss main villain and her useless elven god brother are not compelling or well written. Yep, I made that point. They do nothing all game except be the punching bag for the main character's narrative. That is also true. Basically, these two villain characters, they're just such a joke, and they barely show up. But when they do, I mean, really, it's this weird plot point where it's like, hey, so all this useless and meaningless drama all game, but by the way, don't forget about those two eldritch gods that are going to end the world. While you're dealing with these characters who are speaking through all this needless drama and needless, petty, freaking interpersonal, all these differences, but it's like, again, there's no actual differences between the characters. Nobody actually disagrees with each other and has any spats. No, everyone is, it's all this inauthentic camaraderie between everyone. It's this fake kind of friendship, dog crap in the game. It's so it's so weird because everyone's talking about petty drama that kind of surrounds them, but then everyone within the circle, within the group, nobody, I mean, this is literally how leftists go through life, so it makes sense, but none of them will call each other out, none of them criticize each other. So it's everything outside of these characters and their social circle that is the problem, and that they are bent up about, that they feel oppressed by the world outside of themselves. But of course, when they speak to each other, nobody disagrees. When someone says something stupid, one of the characters, nobody puts them in their place. None of that. None of it. So anyways, the villains are just basically punching bags for the main character and their narrative, or Tosh and her narrative. Either one. They're just there as a plot device. Even though, politics is a part of those two characters, the two eldritch gods. Anyways, I don't even know how they're gods, by the way. They do a terrible job establishing how they're gods and what kind of power they have. Solus doesn't seem to be that powerful, even though he's supposed to be a god. Or, he's supposed to be a god. Whatever, man. It's so retarded. Anyways, next point. This game has the philosophical depth of a child. Yes, adult child. The characters are all adult children. There's nothing to consider here. There is nothing for intelligent people here. Yeah, there's nothing intelligent to think about. There's nothing that gets you thinking. You're like, wow, that was a really meaningful storyline. Wow, that really makes me that takes me aback, and now I'm going to consider upon myself what it is I just experienced. There's none of that. You go through this entire story, and there's nothing that tests or probes into your mind to make you think for yourself and explore your own intelligence like a lot of older stories used to do, even as far back as Witcher 3. I mean, there's a lot of games that used to have narratives that actually got you thinking, that actually got you being introspective or reflective upon yourself. You're like, oh, that's interesting. Wow, that maybe I should change my perspective, on things that are not, this woke dog crap, stuff like existentialism or whatever else. So something else. There's a bunch of things that you can talk about, think about, whatever, but none of that here. There's nothing for intelligent people here. So why would you spend money on this? I mean, genuine question. Unless you're a retard, why would you spend money on this game? This was, and that's the issue, is that there are a lot of retarded people out there. They're not looking for anything intelligent. They're just looking for something that is brain numbing and this mindless propaganda fiction. That's all they're looking for. Anyways, this was only made for losers who cannot understand anything outside of egalitarianism. Yes. That is one of the biggest issues with this game, is that it was made for only people who are egalitarians and only people who understand only egalitarianism. That the writers do not understand anything outside of their own ethics. And that makes the villains laughable. That makes all the characters laughable. That's why the villains sound terrible. That's why they sound like childish characters, because they do not understand ethics outside of themselves and outside of egalitarian ethics specifically. But again, outside of themselves, right? Because whatever personal ethics that these egalitarian writers or creatives that they have, that may not be directly tied to egalitarianism, but it's a result of it, right? Doesn't matter. Everything in this game is only as a result of egalitarian thinking. They cannot think outside of that. And that's why the villains, they sound terrible, because they cannot justify to themselves authoritarianism, fascism, or any other frame of thinking. The writers cannot see the line of reasoning that is valid within other ways of thought. So they're villains, because again, the only way that you have a legitimate villain character is because you justify the villain in your own head. The only way that you can write the Joker and Batman is because you can see why the Joker is Joker, and you are in his mind space. You have justified his way of thinking to yourself. You made sense of it, and you're like, okay, I see that, and now I'm going to write that character. And then at the same time, you also have to be convinced of Batman's character. You have to be convinced of your characters and their ambitions, of their sentiments, or else you're going to make a parody of a character. And that's the issue with these villains in this game. The writers are not convinced of anything outside of egalitarianism. So only the villains and the heroes are egalitarians. This is the issue with modern day stories, modern day Disney, Star Wars, and other properties, is that everyone has to have the same ethics. Which makes no sense then. It's like, how do we have these villains? And because it's like, then there's actually no conflict. The villain is the hero, or the hero is such a raging retard loser, which is most of the time with these woke leftist stories. The hero is such a raging retard loser that we end up wanting to be on the side of the freaking villain because the villain's actually cool, actually smart, actually interesting, and they get what they want. Instead of being a freaking leftard, some kind of ideological activist who's a lame and gay loser. We want compelling characters. That's what we want. Anyways, quest lines and story beats are not interesting nor insightful. Kind of tied into the previous point I was making, but yes, that's a huge issue. The quest lines are terrible. They're not engaging. The story beats, poorly executed, terribly done. Again, it's more laughable. I would be cracking up. Well, most of the time I was cracking up, but I would be cracking up a lot more often if I wasn't so pissed that they freaking ruined Dragon Age. I wanted a proper sequel. Everyone wanted it. I played the DLC of Inquisition and I was like, I can't wait. And now we got this. And you know, it's like, at this point, I've gotten indifferent about all of this, but I did want, back then, when I was playing the DLC, I did want a sequel. I did. And it sucks that we never got it. But I wanted a sequel with beautiful women in it, honestly. Again, just actual female characters that are desirable. Not this freaking woke dog crap where the women, they look terrible. Anyway, so where were we? This game was not written by intelligent writers with a story to share. Again, the reason why people spend money for fiction is because you have something to share. Is because you have something to share that people want to hear or people want to see. And it's something that you have to also convince them. It's not like you just make something, it's something that people want to see. Nobody knew that they wanted Star Wars. But once they saw Star Wars, they knew that they wanted Star Wars. Everyone knew that. Nobody knew that they wanted Lord of the Rings, but once you see it, you're convinced of its value rather readily and quickly. Bro, this is getting freaking embarrassing. You know, you keep on picking up woke movies, woke stories, left and right, woke video games, and you're just like, I love this woke crap, but I'm gonna pretend I don't like it. Listen, if you're fed up with freaking wokeness in storytelling and everything, then go into Amazon, Charles Arlington, seek me out, pick up one of my books, please leave a rating and review. Catch you later, homosexual. Stories and storytelling has to be made through the lens of proving something that people want to see. And again, you can show somebody anything in storytelling or anything that's creative. You know, largely anything. There's a lot of stuff that nobody wants to see. You know, degenerate, woke crap. Nobody wants to see that. Including even freaking wokies. As much as they think that everyone loves their politics, and as much as they believe in their own politics, not even they want their own dog crap. That's what's crazy about it. It's such degenerate horse crap. It is such degenerate horse crap. Stuff like Dustborn, whatever else, this game. That these woke tards, they don't even want their own trash. because the value is not implicit of the content. So again, this game was not written by intelligent writers with a story to share. It used to be what a lot of our stories were. It used to be a competition of some of the best writers, or decent writers, you know, because we used to get a lot of good games. And we used to be a lot more critical of the quality in gaming, because everyone was concerned about what's giving us the best story, right? Is Batman Arkham City, is that a better story than Dragon Age Inquisition? Is Inquisition better than Metal Gear Solid 5? Is Metal Gear Solid 5, is it better than Red Dead Redemption 2? We used to care about this. What is the quality of the story, of the narrative, of the characters? Now it's just, is anything good anymore? We don't know, because nothing's good anymore, for the large part. Anyway. This was written by rambling activists who have zero imagination. We don't have imagination anymore in storytelling. And we've already kind of addressed this, but yeah, there's no creativity anymore. There's no ideas anymore in our stories. There's nothing that is compelling, that gets you thinking differently. There's none of that. There used to be. And an agenda to enforce. Yeah, this game is all about agenda. Zero imagination. No imagination. It's only agenda. Solus was actually a good villain back in Inquisition. I liked what they did with him. I like that he was a part of your party and then he leaves, right? Because he's the Dreadwolf and he's doing all the Dreadwolf things that he does. I like that. I think that was actually cool. And it was actually tied into your gameplay, because I did, I made a build for Solus, and I used to use him a decent bit in my party. And then when he leaves, I'm like, what the frick? But that's cool, you know? It's cool that we have something like that in a story that also ties into gameplay in that way, that actually matters. And it's not just, you know, some kind of like arbitrary dog crap that no one cares about. Like in this game, if this game did it, it would just be terrible, because they screw up everything. I was actually excited for a sequel here, but here, he is a lame and gay joke. Solus is. He sits around all of the narrative tucked away into the veil for absolutely no reason. Yep. Next point, where are we here? This game is specifically written and made for, oh no, oh, I scrolled way too far. This game is specifically written and made for useless drama between your main character and the party, mostly made up of annoying millennial women and just other adult children, just millennial sentiments in general. Everybody is a meandering loser who also happens to be the best at everything that they apply themselves to. They happen to be the best at everything they apply themselves to. It's such a freaking liberal trope at this point, that these are losers, meandering losers. They can't have any control over their thoughts or their emotions, but they're the best at everything. If they pick up a hammer, they can build up an entire house in a day. Ridiculous. I mean, there's no idea of expertise to these characters, improving your expertise in any way. So where were we? To be the best at everything in this world, these people each lack an insane amount of mental fortitude or maturity, which further expresses how the dialogue follows these losers that want to be heroes but are not made of that fiber. Yep. The narrative following losers who want to be heroes, but they're not composed, they do not possess what it takes to be a hero. And the writer does not understand what it takes to be a hero, so they can't write actual good hero characters or main characters. Because a hero, by the way, can be neutral in their morality. And these writers, they cannot do that. They can't do any of it. They don't know. Basically, they only know how to make completely contemptible characters. That's it. All right, next point, combat is redundant. and repetitive. The game drags on. Loot sucks. Exploration sucks. Nothing of value happens here or is to be engaged with here. You just go from meaningless location to location, over fighting the same enemies. You're fighting the same enemies far too often, before suffering through inane dialogue and story that never develops, because there's nothing to develop here. Yep, there's no plot. The only plot in this game is the beginning of the game, and then the rest of it is just woke, ideological dog trash. This game is an offense on the industry and the genre of fantasy. It has no business being here. It is DEI trash and destroys the purpose for hiring someone to make these games, these products in the first place. The reason why there is even a job called writer, called narrative director, narrative designer in a game is because someone can prove their value and they can actually deliver. These are people, why the frick do you have your job? These are people where it's like, why do we have engineers in our society? Because every time they build a bridge, it falls down. Why are we hiring for this role? We might as well do away with teachers because they don't teach. They just sit around and they eat Doritos. If you're going to do your job, do it. Not only if you're going to do your job, just do it, but do it well. If you're going to do your job, okay, again, one more time. If you're going to do a job, actually do the job. And if you're actually going to do the job, do it the best you can. I'm sorry, no, that's too subjective. I know what I mean when I say that. Anyways, when you're going to do your job, do it well. Do it well. Do not just do it to just do it or whatever. Actually do the job. Actually make sure that you are possessing quality within what it is that you do. Anyways, on to the next point here. Love of God. But no. This is a huge point though, that does matter though. There should be no writing staff on a team if you cannot do the job. And if you cannot do the job well, again, you shouldn't be hired. This is something that for some reason we keep on hiring these activists who have no talent, no skill. They only have their agenda, their politics. That's it. Anyways, this is DEI trash. Okay, yeah, no, we already made that point. All right, on to the next point. Black elves are completely meaningless. It is lore breaking. It is immersion breaking, and it is stupid. It is ridiculous. Fantasy, as I said earlier in the video, is a white man's conception. Having diversity anywhere within this fantasy is immersion breaking. It destroys the product. This has no place. It ruins the intergenerational world building and gives us a multicultural abomination that nobody can get lost in or love. Nobody wants diversity in fantasy. You can make a separate franchise for this, but nobody wants it at all. Even black people do not want it. Black people, they want to see white people stuff when they see fantasy. And I don't even care about them. I don't care. I don't care about pandering to them. I don't care about any of that. But the truth is that black people, even they don't want this freaking woke stuff. They don't want all this meaningless, needless, multicultural nonsense in these fantasy games. They want to follow a story that is true to its core. If a black guy picks up a Viking game he wants to see, more often than not, of course, a lot of them are black absolutionist activists. Nobody wants to talk about that. A lot of black dudes are freaking retards when it comes down to their black politics. They always want to sit there and act like, we was kings, we was inventors, everyone wants to live in a society with us in it or whatever, because they always act like that they're the pinnacle of society and that they're actually the trailblazers. They always do this. Anyways, But in the end, despite all the stupid black absolutionist nonsense that they speak, even they, when they pick up a Viking game, they expect to see white Nordic people and none of this DEI, none of this diversity, none of this multicultural dog crap. Again, I'm not pandering to them. I don't care about them. I'm just saying, this is stupid. We all know it's stupid. Even the people who are stupid, they know this is stupid and they know that they don't want this. Anyways, romance is disgusting and gay in this game. It was made for ugly losers who think getting steamy with ugly freaks is somehow compelling or arousing. They think it's actually arousing when ugly people get steamy with ugly freaks. No. I'm gonna make a point on this in a second here. Again, they think that ugly people getting steamy with ugly freaks is arousing or compelling. No. We want to see hot white chicks get talked up by a largely attractive dude before getting plowed and her showing herself off naked in the scene. Because that's all dudes want to see. They want to see a hot chick, a hot white chick when it's fantasy. They want to see her naked and getting plowed by a largely attractive dude. That's it. The only reason that we have romance in gaming is because attractive women are getting naked. Attractive women are getting plowed. That's the only reason. Nobody wants to see ugly people flirting with each other, talking each other up. Nobody wants to see it. We want to see a hot chick. And that's it. That's the only reason that romance is in gaming. Because gaming is made for overwhelmingly men. And men want to see, again, the romance is just the build-up before the gratification of seeing a sexy woman naked. That's it. We don't want to talk to Triss. I mean, we'll talk to her just to build up that, tension, the romantic tension. But then we want the release of seeing her naked, of seeing her freaking boobs. Or seeing her naked rear end. That's what we want to see. Romance is not in gaming because anyone actually gives a crap about ugly or disgusting people. Or because romance, like talking about your emotions is romance or whatever. No, it's not. Romance is all about sex. The leftist freaks or, weirdo feminists, they think that it's all about your emotions and it's all platonic and it's all, if we just sit down and we have a soy boy latte, well, we're going to somehow feel a sense of love for each other, romantic love, which ultimately somehow turns into this awkward sexual love. No, nobody cares about how ugly people get it done. We care about a sexy, hot, attractive chick getting after it, okay? That's all we care about. Anyways, so we want to see a naked woman on screen as a reward for the male gamers who go through the tension or whatever, the time of the romance in gaming. Again, romance in gaming is for female nudity. That's the only reason for it. Nothing else matters. That's why it is ever made. Men only go through the romance in a game for the tension, for the build-up, so that they get the ultimate reward of the nudity. The only reason. Nobody cares about anything else outside of that. Anyways, on to the next point. Wokeness is a misnomer. Now, let's be very clear about this. Wokeness means many things. There's many layers to wokeness. For one, it's egalitarianism. It is progressivism. However, wokeness fundamentally is a misnomer. Whatever it states to be true, the opposite is the reality. Wokeness, again, when it states that something is beautiful, it is ugly. When it states that something is ugly, it is beautiful. Whatever it is that wokeness possesses and it defines, that thing is exactly the opposite. It is a misnomer, okay? Anyways, when these developers made this game, they fulfilled their intent. Again, wokeness is a misnomer. When they made this game, they fulfilled their intent. Contradict everything that people purchase a fantasy game or product for. Contradict every theme, meaningful trope, or concept that keeps people engaged and interested in the fantasy genre, in any fantasy game, whatever it is that gets people into fantasy. They went out of their way. And this is very clearly intentional by these activists. This is with everything that they hijack. Their intent is always to contradict everything. You know, typically exclusively a man is the hero of the story. A man, he fights, he sacrifices himself. Okay, well, let's also make that now about women. You know, everyone's attracted to hot women. Okay, let's contradict that. Well, now you should be attracted to a woman that is flat-chested or has flabby breasts or looks like a man. Whatever it is, you should be attracted to a freak, or you should be attracted to someone that is not genetically desirable. This is a part of wokeness. They went out of their way. Again, it's a misnomer. The developers went out of their way to inherently contradict everything that is of value, that people want, that people find desirable, that keeps people purchasing these games. Where's our place? I totally lost my place. Where the frick? Okay, so do not forget, people pay attention to fiction because something of value is being shared with the audience. We kind of made this point earlier, but again, to be even more explicit about this, is that people only pay for fiction because something of value is being shared to the audience. That's the only reason why people will sit down and go through a fictional story. This thing did not actually happen. It's because you are possessing value in such a way that people want to engage with it. You are sharing something that people want to engage with. When you share with people something that they do not want to engage with, then there's no reason to pay for this freaking stuff, man. Anyways. And people are often shown what they want to see. That's also part of it, right? You are sharing something of value, but you're also sharing something that people want to see. These developers did everything possible to show you no substance, zero substance in the story. Something that is either, let's say, actually, it has a deficit of substance, it takes away from substance, or it never had substance to begin with. Whatever it is, they went out of their way. Because again, they went out of their way to contradict everything that keeps people into fantasy, into fiction. They did everything to contradict so much that anything that could have substance, anything that should have substance, they went out of their way to contradict the very essence of substance. All right, where's my place? I lost it. And revoke from you anything you actually wanted to see. Again, they did everything that they could to compromise the product, to compromise the story, to compromise the characters, to compromise the details, and the details within the details. Everything that builds up value within these products, they went out of their way, contemptuously, to completely undermine it. And this goes into our last point here. Kind of the last point, but largely the last point. The last one I wrote down. This game is a contemptuous, juvenile creation. It was not made in honor for the historical, cultural, and ancestral practice in telling a good fantasy genre story. This was made to racially, ideologically, and culturally subvert this white culture tradition of fantasy and telling a story within fantasy, and turn it into an egalitarian's contemptuous, foolish playground. This game, one more time, this game was made to contradict racially, ideologically, and culturally white storytelling tradition, white culture. And it was made to turn it into an egalitarian's contemptuous, foolish playground. This is a foolish creation, and it is in absolute contempt of white culture and white storytelling. That's what this game is for. That's what this game was made in honor thereof. It's to these politics and to these vapid, ideological warriors. That's all it was made for. This game was not made. It was not made to honor what fantasy is, what Dragon Age is, what anything that's medieval, anything that's elven, anything that's fae or whatever. Go down the list. It was not made to honor its own roots, its own core, its own ancestral core, and its own conceptual roots. It was made to be in complete dishonor of these exact things. So anyways, man, I do want to make a mention here. The ending of the game is absolutely terrible. There's this giant colossus enemy, this like iron golem underground at the end of the game. It is defeated in the most retarded way possible, where I guess a mage controls the vector of the swinging glaive of the golem. He slams it into a building, and the building, it's large, it falls in upon the golem. It's like, what? It's like, I guess 7 stories tall or whatever. It is defeated in a lackluster, retarded way, but it's this new enemy type that was not ever, it could have been introduced into the game. It was never introduced into the game. This is basically a scrapped boss. When you are fighting in the cutscene, you're fighting this huge colossus at the end of the game. I don't know why it was not turned into an enemy. They were so lazy with this game that they even turned one of the bosses just into a simple cutscene, not even gameplay. Alright guys, as you know, wokeness in media is not going away anytime soon. And for the longest time now, we've laid out witness to see that creativity and imagination are both dead. Our modern media today is lame and gay. We don't have stories. And this is why I would like to remind you to go head on over to my Amazon book page, Charles Arlington. There I have written the stories to combat wokeness, to make non-woke stories. It is here that we will regain the true essence of storytelling. The main boss type that you fight in this game are dragons, and only dragons. They don't want you fighting anybody else. And I guess all the dragons are female. I mean, I don't know if there's actual male dragons, if I'm being honest with you. But again, there was a colossus that they refused to have you fight in this game. What the heck? Could have been cool, but they just totally skipped out on it for whatever reason. The ending of the game sucks. It's terrible because it's supposed to feel like all these forces are coming together to fight the eldritch gods, which, again, the villains are just laughable. They're basically a parody of actual villains. You have the option to have Solus reunite with the Inquisitor from the last game, to reunite with them, and you live, basically the idea is that Solus, he will sacrifice himself. He throws himself, he entraps his own soul into the veil to keep all the demons out of the veil, right? In order to keep the demons out of the veil, for the love of the Inquisitor, so it could be gay, by the way, Solus traps himself inside of the veil, even though he intends to just entrap somebody else. I think one of the eldritch gods, or I think someone else's soul, I forget who, but the Inquisitor apparently steps in out of nowhere. I don't even know how they show up in the story exactly, because the story makes no sense. The Inquisitor shows up, and because of Solus's love for the Inquisitor, if you romance Solus, which is really clown world, but okay, if you don't, I guess, I don't know if Solus, if there is an ending where he doesn't trap himself inside the veil. Maybe he entraps the Inquisitor instead. I don't know. But the Inquisitor from the last game, whatever it is, the power of friendship, the power of love, convinces Solus to entrap himself into the veil. That is so retarded. And again, it's just so lackluster. It sucks. It's like, why didn't we just start the game with this then? Because we didn't have to go through this whole story. And that's basically, this game only has the depth of its beginning. Okay, the beginning of the game where Solus is, you know, messing with the portal to the rift or whatever, the veil. Literally, that could have just been the story, is the beginning of the game. But they dragged it out because this game has no story. And the story is all about whether or not Solus is going to entrap himself into the veil or entrap somebody else into the veil. What the frick? That's the story that you had? It took you multiple hours, hundreds of hours. There's a bunch of people who play this game for hundreds of hours. That's all the story is, fundamentally. So why would you put your time into this? Why are you grinding for hours when there is no story, there's no compelling characters, there's crappy lore, crappy loot, crappy exploration, everything sucks? Why are you wasting your time with this game? Again, we could have actually gotten a good sequel to this game, but instead we get this crappy ending where, because of the power of friendship, the power of love, whatever the frick it is, I don't know if it's optional, I don't care, okay? What the frick? That's the end? And again, the way that the eldritch gods that they're defeated, the girl boss and her brother, the way that they're defeated is lame. What they have to say at the end is lame. I mean, they were basically defeated like 3 times over throughout the story. They just ran out of, MacGuffins? Or basically the writers ran out of plot devices or plot holes to throw the frickin' villains down into to save the frickin' sorry Anus. Right? Because basically the story is just, when is it that the writers decided that the villains are done for? And that's all it is. And they're going to constantly compromise the story, or the lack of story. They're going to do everything in their power to compensate for the lack of narrative, so that the villains can make it to the end of the game, where the end of the game basically has the depth of the beginning of the game. Again, what the frick happened since the beginning of the game? That's the truth. Varric is still dead. Solus, he finally resolved the rift like he was planning to do at the beginning of the game. What the frick are we doing here, man? This game did not have to happen. The story did not have to happen. The ending just completely invalidates the rest of the game. I don't know why this game was made, and I don't know why there were any writers or narrative designers hired for this game. They did such a terrible job. They destroyed Dragon Age as a freaking franchise with this game. You know, air quotes, destroyed it, because clearly the previous games are actually canon, they're actually legitimate. But these freaking writers, man, they are a stain upon Dragon Age. They are an absolute embarrassment. And this is so insulting what they did. When we get down to the end of the game, it's like, why the frick did we just waste all of our time here? And bro, this game was such a slog. I felt like I was being tortured going through this freaking story. I hated this game. I hated the narrative. And in the end, here we are, right? This is such a piece of trash game. I freaking hate it. I hate what they did to the characters. I hate how they hijack white culture, because that's what this game is. And instead we have this multicultural dog trash where all these elves are black, they're Asian, there are some other random races, the dwarves are random races, humans are random races. There's no racial history to this game and to the world. Anyways, man, that's enough from me. I think that's everything that I had to think and say about the game. I am so disappointed in what they made here. I cannot even believe that they bothered to make this game in the first place. It's just, considering everything, this is such absolute royal dog trash. Okay, hold up. I'm gonna think if I have anything else left to say. Alright, we're back. Yeah, I think in closing, this is what I have to say. I thought that BioWare was dead when this game was coming out. And by the way, oh yeah, I knew I was forgetting something. So I thought BioWare was dead, actually, long before this game came out. So I was actually surprised that we got this game to begin with. I mean, I wish we got a proper sequel to Inquisition, but I'm actually really surprised that this game came out at all. However, by the way, right, So apparently BioWare's not dead. Now, I don't know if these games are going to kill BioWare. I don't know. But regardless of that, I thought BioWare was dead. So what's happening after this game, which I guess is not going to kill them yet, I don't know. I don't know what's going to actually completely dissolve this company, but here's what's going on, okay? The writer for this game, this millennial dog trash writer who writes all of the characters like adult children, they're going to be working on Mass Effect 5 because for some reason, I guess Andromeda counts as Mass Effect 4. They completely skipped Mass Effect 4. Now they're just going to go on to 5. I mean, that's realistically what it is. Now we're treating knockoff titles as sequels. I mean, come on, man. Anyway, there was no Mass Effect 4. But I guess they're doing 5. This drives me crazy because that means there is no proper sequel. Okay, whatever, man. I guess Andromeda was a reboot? Is that what they want to do? Oh my gosh. Anyways, Mass Effect 5 is going to be such a freaking joke. The same writer for this game, they literally scrapped any potential DLC for this game because it failed so hard. The writer walked away from this game, the travesty that this is, and now they're going to be working on Mass Effect 5. Holy crap, dude, that game is freaking doomed.